Picture this. You step out of your car into a completely empty parking lot at 11 p.m. Half the lights are dead, and beyond the first few rows of cars, it's just pure blackness. Your heart starts pounding in your chest. You can actually feel it. Your eyes are straining, desperately trying to see anything in that darkness. Without even thinking, you start walking faster than you need to. You know there's nothing there. You keep telling yourself that. But your body, it doesn't believe a single word. It's screaming at you to run. That reaction isn't random. It's not really about the parking lot at all. It's a program running in your brain. Older than language, older than fire, older than the human species itself. And here's the strange part. For most of our history, the thing our ancestors feared most at night wasn't the lion in the grass or the wolf at the tree line. It was the dark itself. That sounds backwards. Predators are real. Darkness is just an absence of light. But the more anthropologists dig into how ancient humans actually experienced the night, the clearer it becomes. Darkness wasn't just cover for danger, darkness was the danger. Let's start with why. Human eyes are built for daylight. Our color vision, our depth perception, our ability to track a moving object at a distance, all of it depends on bright light hitting the retina. Take the light away, and you lose almost everything that makes you a competent animal. Meanwhile, the predators hunting our ancestors, leopards, hyenas, big cats of every kind, evolved eyes with a reflective layer called the tapetum lucidum. This let them see many times better than us in low light. At night, humans weren't just vulnerable. We were nearly blind, competing against animals built for exactly that environment. Biologists call this a sensory mismatch, and it's one of the sharpest mismatches in the entire animal kingdom. So when the sun went down, our ancestors didn't just lose visibility. They lost their dominant sense entirely. Smell, taste, touch, none of those were ever humanity's strong suit. Vision was the one advantage we had, the one edge that let a slow, clawless, fangless primate survive on the savannah. And every single night, that edge disappeared completely. This is why fear of the dark isn't a phobia in the clinical sense. It's closer to a factory setting. Researchers studying childhood development have found that fear of darkness emerges in nearly every human culture at roughly the same age, between 2 and 4 years old, right around the time a child starts exploring independently. No one teaches a toddler to be afraid of an unlit room. You don't need to. It's already loaded in. But knowing you're blind is one thing. Knowing what might be out there in that blindness is another. And this is where the fear compounds. Anthropologist Dan Fessler at UCLA studies what's called nocturnal vigilance, the mental state of scanning for threats you cannot see. Fessler's research found that anxiety naturally spikes after dark across cultures with no connection to each other. This spike isn't about any specific danger. It's about uncertainty itself. A known threat you can plan for. An unknown one in the dark could be anything. And your brain, unable to rule anything out, treats it as everything at once. This is the exact mechanism that turned the night into a canvas for monsters. Nearly every culture on Earth, independently, invented something that comes out after dark. The Norse had the Draugr. West African traditions warned of spirits that walked after sunset. Filipino folklore has the aswang. Slavic villages feared the domovoi turning hostile after nightfall. Japanese yokai were said to be most active in darkness. These aren't copies of each other. They emerged separately on different continents among people who never met. And they all point to the same underlying pattern. When humans can't see, we fill the blank space with the worst thing our imagination can produce. The dark didn't just hide danger, it manufactured it. And this was never harmless superstition. It shaped how entire societies were organized. In medieval Europe, towns rang a bell each evening as a signal to extinguish household fires and stay inside. That's where the word curfew comes from, the French couvre-feu, cover fire. The practical justification of reducing house fires came later. The original instinct was older and simpler. Night belonged to something else. You did not walk it. Historian Roger Ekirch, who spent over a decade studying pre-industrial life after dark, documented exactly how seriously this was taken. In many European towns, walking outside without a lantern after nightfall was treated as a crime, sometimes punishable exactly like theft. Being caught in the dark without a light wasn't just inconvenient. It marked you as suspicious, possibly dangerous, possibly not even human. Ekirch found records describing night wanderers as little better than criminals or spirits themselves, because ordinary people simply didn't move through unlit space voluntarily. If you were out there, something was wrong with you. Even the way villages were physically built reflected this fear. Homes clustered tightly together, doors facing inward toward a shared space, walls without windows on the side facing open land. Every design choice fought the same battle: shrink the amount of darkness a person had to cross to reach safety. So why did fear of the dark outrank fear of an actual leopard? Because a predator, even a dangerous one, is a known quantity. Ancient humans who lived alongside big cats for hundreds of thousands of years understood their patterns, their territories, their hunting hours. You could read tracks. You could hear a specific alarm call from birds or monkeys warning you a predator was near. A predator, however deadly, operated inside rules your ancestors had learned to interpret. Darkness broke every one of those rules. It didn't just hide the leopard, it hid the ground you were walking on, the branch about to snap under your foot, the edge of a cliff, the neighbor from a rival group who might mean you harm, the snake coiled 2 feet away. Anthropologists studying modern hunter-gatherer groups have found that fatal nighttime injuries, from falls, from stepping on venomous animals, from simple disorientation, occurred just as often as predator attacks, sometimes more. The dark wasn't one threat. It was every threat simultaneously, with no way to tell which one was actually coming for you. This is why campfires mattered so much more than simple warmth. A fire wasn't just heat, it was the restoration of your one working sense. Inside the ring of firelight, you could see. You could read faces, track movement, spot a stranger approaching from 50 yards out, step past that ring, and every advantage vanished in a single stride. Researchers studying the psychological effect of firelight have found that simply sitting near an open flame measurably lowers cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone. Your ancestors didn't gather around fire only for stories and warmth. They gathered there because it was the only place at night their nervous system could actually relax. And when the fire went out, the fear didn't fade with age or experience. Elders in traditional societies were often the ones most careful about the dark, not the least. They had simply seen more of what could happen inside it. Fear of darkness wasn't a childhood weakness our ancestors grew out of. It was a lifelong, rational calculation, refined by decades of close calls. Then we did something no other species has ever managed. We ended the night. Gas lamps, then electric light, pushed back the dark until most of us in modern cities barely experience true darkness at all. Light pollution maps show that roughly 80% of the world's population now lives under skies too bright to see the Milky Way. We built our way out of the oldest fear humans have, but the fear didn't disappear. It just lost its target. Your amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for threat detection, still spikes in low light. It still scans an unlit hallway the same way it would have scanned the tree line 100,000 years ago. Studies using brain imaging have shown that darkness alone, with no actual threat present, increases activity in fear-processing regions of the brain. Not imagined monsters, not memories of scary movies, just the dark itself, triggering a response written into you long before movies, long before monsters had names. That's why you walk faster across the parking lot. That's why an unlit staircase feels different from a lit one, even in your own home. That's why children instinctively want a light left on, and why so many adults quietly still do too. You're not being irrational. You're running software installed over hundreds of thousands of years in an environment where being wrong about the dark meant you didn't make it to morning. We think of fear of the dark as something we should have outgrown, a childish holdover we're embarrassed to admit we still feel. But for nearly the entire span of human existence, that fear was the correct response. It kept people inside the fire's edge. It kept them close to the group. It kept them alive long enough to have children who inherited the exact same fear and passed it on to you. The lion in the grass was dangerous, but the lion had limits. It hunted certain hours, certain places, certain prey. The dark had no limits at all. It could be anything, everywhere, all at once. And your ancestors, standing at the edge of the firelight looking out into it, understood something we've mostly forgotten. It was never really about what was hiding in the dark. It was about the terrifying fact that they couldn't know. That uncertainty, not the predator, not the cold, not even death itself, was the thing they feared most. And every time you reach for a light switch without thinking about it, some very old part of you is still grateful it's there.